Hello everyone, this is Highlander from MTG Cardsmith. I'm here doing another custom Magic the Gathering card review! And today, I'm reviewing another card by Mila. This card is called Autumn Warrior. Look at this beautiful art. I love this art. Sakimi-chan. Sakimi-chan. Good job. This is really nice. This is a really nice looking card. Guys, this is why presentation matters so much, you know? I mean, I look at this card and I'm like, oh, I love it. It's nicely formatted. There's nothing that's distracting me, you know? It's very nice, very nice. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here. So this is a Rakdos card for a 2-2. So it's one red and black for a 2-2, 3-mana 2-2. It has Channel. I like that. One in a red, discard Autumn Warrior. Autumn Warrior deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Okay, shocks for 2. Nice. Like it, like it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have more cards in hand than each opponent, you may return Autumn Warrior from your graveyard to your hand. Let's see. She falls into her grave like leaves do in autumn, but like leaves, she comes back in spring. Oh, that's so poetic. So poetic. By the way, does anybody else like hate the fact that like when you write flavor text, it like bumps into this like little thing here? Oh, that drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. And it only seems to show up on like some cards. Some cards don't have, some borders don't have this, and some of them do. It's just like, ugh, you know. Anyway, okay, so let's think about Autumn Warrior here. Okay, so 3-mana 2-2, especially for 2 colors, very under the curve. This is a rare. 2-mana deal 2 is also under the curve, but obviously the flexibility there is really nice. And then if you have more cards in hand than each opponent, you may return Autumn Warrior from your graveyard to your hand. So it's kind of like a repeatable shock, I guess. Okay, so I actually have a couple issues with this particular design. Let me turn myself down because I think I'm shouting a little loud. How's that? Is that better, guys? So a couple issues I have with this card. First of all, you don't see this a lot anymore. Creature or player deals damage to creature or player. Now, there's actually nothing wrong with this wording. It's just strange because it can't target planeswalkers. So nowadays, this would say probably any target deals 2 damage to any target, right? And I would kind of expect that on a card like this. Now, again, saying creature or player isn't wrong. It just now means you can't target planeswalkers with this effect. So you might as well just make this any target, you know? Okay, so the other thing I'm not a big fan of with this card is I feel like you're never casting the creature side of this. Like, the creature is so underwhelming that basically it feels like you're just going to use this as a repeatable shock, right? Like, the 2 damage mode, it just seems way better than a 3-mana 2-2 on the board, you know? Especially since you can go to the face with this. So like I don't really see a world in which you're playing a 3-mana 2-2 because, like, you know, I mean, okay, I guess there are situations where you're playing against a control deck, right? And they don't have anything for you to shock, right? So you play this, but like then the control deck just laughs at you. They're like, ha, 3-mana 2-2, and you're never gonna have more cards in hand than them, right? So it's like you're just playing a 3-mana 2-2 that's basically they're just gonna ignore for a few turns, and then eventually it'll die at some point. Just, you know, they'll blow on it. So I feel like this should be a little bit more of a relevant body so that it's actually like more of a decision, you know, so that you can actually beat down with this. Like if this was a 3-2, for example, now we're kind of changing our tune a little bit. Now it's like, okay, it's definitely worth playing this for 3 mana in some situations, right? Especially like if, for example, they have something with 3 toughness and you can't actually kill it by doing this. You can play this guy and you can play her and try to trade with it, right? You know, then you're starting to get a little bit more interesting. But as it stands right now, the body is so irrelevant for the cost that it just feels like you're just never casting this. Or you're casting like 5% of the time, maybe, you know? In which case, you might as well just make this an instant. So, okay, so that's my issue with that. The other issue is this wording's a little strange to me. I mean, so there's nothing wrong with this wording. If you have more cards in hand than each opponent, you may return her from your graveyard to your hand. But it seems a little out of place on a Rakdos card. Usually, like for most Rakdos cards I've seen, they almost, I mean, Rakdos is like where Hellbent comes from, right? Or excuse me, it's the other way around. Hellbent comes from Rakdos, right? And Hellbent cares about not having any cards in your hand. And both, like, Rakdos tends to be a pretty aggressive color pairing. So it seems like it'd be really hard to fulfill this clause unless you're playing like a Grixis control deck or something. Because I mean, first of all, red's source of card advantage is like exiling cards and casting them from exile, right? But those aren't going in your hand, so that doesn't help with this. I mean, black has some card draw spells, right? But they're usually like, I mean, it's rare you see one that's more than a draw 2, right? Now, okay, cue the commander players. Oh, but there's like promise of power and all those kinds of things. Yeah, okay, fine. But anyway, you see what I'm saying. So, by the way, that's exactly what commander players sound like. Yes, I am throwing shade. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. So that's what I find strange about this, is that having more cards in your hand on a Rakdos card just seems really strange. The other thing is this doesn't feel very Rakdos flavored, this particular character, or this card, Autumn Warrior. She's like really nice. She's got some leaves. She looks like she's very disciplined, right? Like, and this just doesn't scream. Nothing about this screams black to me. Like, you could probably do a similar thing in like red green would be, at least, okay, so if we're just talking about like the flavor of this card, an Autumn Warrior feels like I want that to be red green, right? I mean, that would fit really nicely here with this art especially. It doesn't really fit with his claws very well. Like, if we ignore the flavor of this card, like with these words, it feels like more of a red blue card, because blue, that's where you're going to have more cards in hand than your opponent. You know what I'm saying? Than each opponent even. So like in a blue deck, a blue-red deck, you could really make use of something like this. Obviously, you need to have red, right? So yeah, the colors just seem a little off to me here. I mean, what you could do is, if you wanted to keep this Rakdos, you could completely flip this around, and you could just say, if you have fewer cards in hand than each opponent, get it back from your graveyard, right? And that, like, in that sense, it becomes like a much better card than it currently is. Because right now, it seems really hard to be able to actually pull this off, unless like you're playing against a mono red deck or something, So yeah, those are my main issues with this card. Is I'm not quite in love with the Rakdos coloring here, and for the two reasons I mentioned, the flavor and the this clause right here. And I really would like to see a more relevant body here, so that it's not just like a recursive shock, so that sometimes you're actually going to play this card out on the field, So yeah, that's my review of Autumn Warrior. I should also point out that your channel formatting is a little bit off. Not too bad, but let's just find ourselves some channel here. Channel. All right, channel needs to be italicized, and you need this long bar here, right? You got a little tiny guy there. You want this to be italicized and this to be a long bar. So, a little formatting issue there. So for those reasons, I'm gonna give this card a 3 out of 5. It's a very beautiful card. Again, like, outside of that channel issue, the presentation wise, this is a very nice card. I even really like the flavor text a lot. It's very poetic. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame I have to give this a 3 out of 5, but it does have some issues. So 3 out of 5 for Autumn Warrior. Thank you guys for watching.